District 300. We have three very special guests joining me live here in studio. Connie Cain. Connie, thank you for joining us. Kristina Konstanty, thank you for joining us. And Bob Reining.
Yes.
All three incredible individuals, everyday moms and dads running for school board. And so we're going to kind of go back and forth between the three of you. But ladies first. Sorry, Bob. We'll come to you. We'll come at you at the very end here of this first round. But Kristina, tell us about what inspired you, or if there was a particular moment that you thought to yourself and spoke with your family, I've got to run for school board.
Well, I've been thinking about this for the last few years, and I've had a lot of people ask me to give it a thought. But it was after one of the election victory parties for our local Republican candidate that one of the speeches that he made really hit home to me. And he said, this is not over. We have to keep going. We have to protect our community, and local elections are so very important. And on that drive home that night, I talked to my husband and said, what do you think? He said, you got to do it. So that was the night.
Wow. And it's an incredible sacrifice. And a lot of people may not even realize that, the listeners, the sacrifice that candidates and their families make every single day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Connie, same question for you. And Bob, you're probably going to have the best answer because you've had a couple of minutes extra time to think about this. But Connie, for you, number one, was there a moment that you decided that I want to run for school board?
Well, I ran for state rep in the general election, and I had the opportunity to speak to many people in my district. I didn't win the race. I finished with about 47.5% of the vote, which is pretty good. But I know for a fact that many people in the district are unhappy with the way the schools are being managed. There were a lot of complaints about CRT and the sex ed curriculum. So after I finished the general election, I didn't win. And I realized with the school board coming up, I have name recognition. I know people are unhappy with the way the schools are being managed. So there is an opportunity for me to get involved in the school board race.
There is an opportunity, and again, thank you for running. Bob, over to you. What moment was there in that you said, I've got to do this?
Back in 2020, when they first shut down the schools and 2 weeks of flatten the curve, I was furloughed from my job. So I was at home. I had the opportunity to watch all of the press briefings that the governor had put on, and something just didn't seem right with me. So at that point, I just didn't agree with what was going on. So I allowed my kids to have their friends over to do school from home. I wasn't going to, keep them, socially distanced from anybody because I thought it was more harmful than good for them. My daughter at that point was in 8th grade, and my son was a junior in high school. So I, listening to the press briefings, and that's when Tom DeVore and Darren Bailey brought on their lawsuit. And I was extremely happy that happened because I was waiting for somebody to be our voice and listening to them step up. I was so happy about that. I drove down to Springfield because they were having a rally for the million unmasked children, or as a march. But I felt so strong about it, I drove down to Springfield because I wanted to meet Tom and I wanted to meet Darren at that point. And they inspired me to get more involved in the schools, the politics. And so in 2022, I ran for the McHenry County Board. Unfortunately, I fell short in the primary, but it was my first race. But it didn't stop me. It just kept motivating me more and more to keep stepping up and make sure that our voices are being heard and that we have people filling positions that nobody wants to fill and that are willing to step in front of, all the mud that gets slung.
There's a lot of mud that gets slung, and we could dedicate the rest of this hour to be talking to you, and we'll pause every once in a while to take some calls. But I want to ask Connie and Kristina, there is a lot of mudslinging. Can you give us an example? Because I think it's important for our listeners and constituents to know that this is more than just campaigning. You oftentimes are under personal attack. So is there a story that you can share?
Sure. So I've been very vocal at the school board meetings for the last 2 years, and throughout those 2 years, many parents have had no trespass orders put on them for various reasons, very little reason, if any. And I never thought I'd be the one to have one against me. But as soon as I filed my petitions for my candidacy, I have a no trespass order against me for the district. I had a staff member accuse me of putting a false police report in, and a no contact order was just dismissed last week, and a criminal trespass ticket at my daughter's middle school to come pick her up, like a normal pickup day. I was found not guilty by the village. So they keep doing this to me, and I keep winning. But in the meantime, it is very stressful for myself and my family. And costly. It's $3,500 so far for legal fees.
And costly. I was just going to say that in addition to just sort of the trauma, right, of having to go through this, there's also a financial cost.